The grand assembly hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with light from 1,000 distant stars. The massive dome-shaped room held representatives from over 2,000 alien civilizations. Each species had their own special seating area designed for their unique bodies. Some floated in bubbles of liquid, others perched on high platforms, and many sat in regular chairs. Ambassador Elena Chen took a deep breath as she walked to the center of the speaking platform. Her black and blue Earth uniform stood out among the colorful clothing of the alien representatives. At 45 years old, she had spent 15 years representing humanity in this hall. Today would be her last day. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice clear and strong. For 75 years, Earth has been a loyal member of this community of worlds. We have shared our knowledge, fought in your wars, and followed your rules. The room was unusually quiet. Normally, there would be translators whispering, assistants moving around, and the soft hum of technology. But today, everyone seemed to sense something important was happening. However, today I come with a message from the United Governments of Earth and all human colonies. Elena paused, looking around at the alien faces. Some had eyes like humans, others had compound eyes like insects, and many had sensory organs. Humans couldn't even understand. Earth is officially withdrawing from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. The silence broke instantly. Voices shouted in hundreds of languages. Some representatives stood up in shock. Others began arguing with their neighbors. High Admiral Zerx of the Zerathi Imperium, a tall reptilian alien with golden scales, slammed his clawed hand on his console. "This is outrageous. Explain yourself, human." Elena waited for the noise to die down before continuing. "For decades, we have tried to work within this system. We have submitted technology improvements that you ignored. We have warned about dangers that you dismissed. We have watched our sovereignty slowly taken away by council regulations." On the other side of the hall, the smaller, blue-skinned Keldonite representatives were already typing furiously on their communication devices, likely calling for economic punishment against Earth. "Just last month," Elena continued, "our proposal to update the Galactic Defense Network was rejected for the third time. Our scientists identified critical weaknesses that could be exploited. Yet the Council called our concerns human paranoia." In a dark corner of the hall, Elder Mazik of the Voidwalkers watched silently. The ancient species rarely spoke at meetings, but their wisdom was respected by all. Mazik's compound eyes reflected the light strangely as he observed the human ambassador. "Earth chooses independence," Elena declared. "We will chart our own path among the stars. We withdraw from all council treaties, trade agreements, and defense pacts." The council leader, a tall, willowy being with skin like flowing water, finally spoke. "Ambassador Chen, please reconsider. The process for withdrawal takes at least 5 standard years according to—" Elena interrupted, "something that was never done in council meetings. We are not asking for permission. We are informing you of our decision. Earth withdraws today." On Earth, President Jackson stood in the Global Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Screens showed Elena's speech live from the Council homeworld, 20,000 light-years away. "Is the defense grid ready?" Jackson asked. General Mira Patel nodded. "Yes, Madam President. All Earth orbital platforms are at full power. Colony worlds are protected. Our ships are in position." "Then begin Phase 1, the President ordered. Back in the Council chamber, Elena's communication device vibrated once against her wrist. The signal. She looked up at the angry, confused alien faces surrounding her. "As we speak, all human diplomats, scientists, and citizens are leaving Council worlds. We have prepared for this day for years. Do not attempt to stop them." "High Admiral." Zerk stepped forward, his scales flushing red with anger. "This is rebellion. The Council will not stand for this. We have the power to blockade Earth until you come to your senses." Elena smiled slightly. "I strongly advise against any such action." "Admiral." In space around Earth and each human colony, massive defense platforms that had been disguised as regular space stations suddenly transformed. Hidden panels opened, revealing advanced weapon systems. Energy shields stronger than anything the Council had seen before surrounded each human world. On thousands of Council worlds, human ships began emergency launches. These vessels had been prepared secretly, ready to bring all humans home. The ships activated special engines that the humans had never shared with the Council. In flashes of blue light, they disappeared, jumping through space faster than Council sensors could track. The Council leader looked horrified. "What have you done? The Council has stood for peace for 10,000 years. Peace built on ignoring problems is not real peace," Elena replied. "We have tried for decades to make you. Listen, now we will protect ourselves." Elder Mazik finally moved from his corner. The ancient alien's voice was rarely heard, and everyone fell silent to listen. "The humans have made their choice," Mazik said slowly, his voice like rustling leaves. "But I fear none of you understand what this truly means." Elena turned to look at the Voidwalker. Of all the Council species, the Voidwalkers had been the most fair to humans, the most willing to listen. "You have held more pieces of the puzzle than you knew," Mazik said directly to Elena. "Your departure removes those pieces from the board." "What does that mean?" demanded the Council leader. But Elena was already walking toward the exit. At the doorway, she turned one last time. "Earth has contributed more than you've acknowledged. You may discover this too late. Goodbye." As the door closed, behind her, Elena tapped her communication device. "This is Ambassador Chen. I am clear. Initiate final withdrawal." All across Council space, human systems that had been integrated into Council technology began to shut down. Not violently or destructively, simply turning off, returning to standby mode. Systems that the Council had come to rely on without truly understanding. As Elena boarded her ship for the journey home, Elder Mazik watched from a window high in the Council tower. "You have no idea what you've done," he whispered to himself as the human ship disappeared in a flash of blue light. "None of you do." On a distant frontier world, something ancient stirred, sensing the change in the galaxy's quantum patterns. The barriers that had held it back for centuries had suddenly weakened. It was time to hunt again. The chaos was just beginning. 3 months had passed since Earth's dramatic exit from the Galactic Council. The initial shock had turned into growing problems across Council space. Admiral James Shen stood on the observation deck of the EDS Vigilant, Earth's most advanced stealth vessel. The ship floated silently at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, hidden among the ice and rock at the far reaches of Earth's solar system. Through the view screen, he could see tiny dots of light gathering at the edge of the system. "How many ships now, Lieutenant?" he asked. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez checked her displays. 47, sir. Mostly Zarathi military vessels, but we've identified ships from at least 12 other Council species." Admiral Shen nodded. At 53 years old, he had spent most of his life in Earth's space forces. His black uniform bore the silver stars of his rank, and his face showed the calm of a man used to difficult situations. "They're testing our defenses, watching our movements," he said quietly. "But they won't attack. Not yet." "Sir, we've intercepted some interesting transmissions," Rodriguez said. "The Council ships are arguing among themselves. The Zarathi want immediate military action against Earth, but the others are hesitating." Shen smiled slightly. "Of course they are. The fractures are beginning." On the Council capital world of Harmonious Center, the emergency economic meeting was not going well. "The galactic financial system is collapsing," shouted Representative Doral of the Keldonite Federation. The blue-skinned alien slammed his small fist on the table. "Counterfeit currency is flooding every market." High Admiral Zerx of the Zarathi Imperium growled, showing his sharp teeth. "This is obviously an Earth attack. They have sabotaged our economy." The Council leader raised her hand for quiet. "Please, we must remain calm. Our experts are working on the problem." From the corner, Elder Mazik of the Voidwalkers spoke. His voice was soft, but everyone turned to listen. "The humans did not attack your systems," he said. "They simply removed their protection." "What protection?" demanded Admiral Zerx. "The quantum decryption protocols that verified all galactic transactions were Earth technology," Mazik explained. "For 60 years, They maintained those systems, upgraded them, and defended them against attacks. You all approved their reports without reading them, dismissed their warnings as excessive, and never bothered to understand how the systems worked. The council chamber fell silent as the representatives realized the truth. Earth hadn't attacked them. Earth had simply stopped helping them. On Proxima Centauri B, Earth's closest colony world, Dr. Amara Okafor frowned at her laboratory readings. The tall scientist pushed her braided hair back as she studied the patterns on her screen. "This can't be right," she muttered. "Computer, run the analysis again." Her assistant, Dr. Patel, looked up from his own work. "What is it, Amara?" "These are bacterial patterns from the Proxima Plague," she said. "The disease that infected 17 Council worlds 10 years ago. The Council announced it was contained. And it wasn't? Worse," Dr. Okafor said grimly. "It's mutating, and according to these readings from our monitoring stations, it's already appeared on 4 border worlds in the past month." Dr. Patel looked shocked. "But there are no warnings on the Council Health Network, no quarantine announcements." "Exactly." Dr. Okafor stood up and walked to the communication console. "I need to speak with President Jackson immediately. The Council isn't containing the information because they don't know. Earth's monitoring systems were the only ones detecting the early stages of infection. They never set up their own systems?" Dr. Patel asked in disbelief. "Why would they? Ours always worked perfectly." Dr. Okafor shook her head. "And now millions could die because no one is watching." On Earth, President Jackson sat in the underground command center, reviewing reports from across former Council space. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, and dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept much. "Food riots on 7 Keldonite worlds," she read aloud. "Trading disruptions at 30 major spaceports. Communication delays between sectors." General Patel nodded. "It's happening faster than we predicted, Madam President. The Council relied on Earth systems more than even we realized." "What about the Void Walkers?" Jackson asked. "Any movement from them?" "Yes, and it's concerning," General Patel replied. "They've withdrawn their ships from 3 major trade routes, citing unforeseen temporal disturbances. No one knows what that means." "I do," said Ambassador Chen, who had been quietly listening. "The Voidwalkers can sense changes in time and probability. If they're withdrawing, they're seeing something dangerous coming." The communication screen suddenly lit up with an urgent message. Dr. Okafor's face appeared, looking worried. "Madam President, we have a serious situation. The Proxima Plague has returned and the Council doesn't know." President Jackson closed her eyes briefly. "How bad?" "Without early detection and proper quarantine, we could be looking at billions of infections within 6 months, Dr. Okafor replied. "And if we warn them?" General Patel asked. "They might not believe us," Ambassador Chen said. "They'll think it's a trick to force our way back into the Council." President Jackson stood up. "We'll warn them anyway. We didn't leave to watch innocent people die." As she spoke, an aide rushed in with another urgent message. "Madam President, we're detecting unusual quantum signatures at the edge of former Council space. Admiral Shen is requesting permission to investigate." "Granted," Jackson said immediately. "And put all Earth forces on alert level 2. Ambassador Chen stepped forward. "There's something else you should see, Madam President." She handed over a small communication device. A private message from Elder Mazik of the Voidwalkers. Jackson activated the device. The holographic image of the ancient alien appeared. "President Jackson," Elder Mazik said, his voice filled with concern. "The pillars crumble faster than even we anticipated. What follows will test all species. The old ones stir in the darkness between stars. Prepare yourselves." The message ended, leaving everyone in silence. "The old ones?" General Patel finally asked. "Ancient stories," Chen explained. "Beings that supposedly threatened the galaxy before the Council existed. Most consider them myths." "The Voidwalkers don't believe in myths," Jackson said firmly. "Alert Admiral Shen. Whatever he's detecting might be more dangerous than we thought." Far away, at the edge of Council space, something massive moved through the darkness. Biomechanical ships, each the size of a small moon, awakened from centuries of sleep. Their sensors detected the change in the galaxy's quantum field. The protective pattern was broken. It was time to harvest again. 6 months had passed since Earth left the Galactic Council. The problems across Council space had grown worse. But now, a new threat had appeared. Admiral James Shen stood rigidly on the bridge of the EDS Vigilant as the view screen showed scenes of destruction. The images came from a Zarathi colony world called New Claw. The once thriving planet was now surrounded by massive ships unlike anything seen in centuries. Harvesters, Shen said quietly, just like the old records described. The enormous ships were each the size of a small moon. They had no uniform shape. Some looked like twisted spirals, others like giant insects. All were a mix of metal and what appeared to be living tissue. Where they passed, nothing survived. Lieutenant Rodriguez looked up from her console. "Sir, we're receiving emergency signals from 17 different systems now, all reporting harvester attacks, and all former Council worlds," Shen noted. "They haven't approached Earth space yet." "Sir, look at this," Rodriguez said, highlighting part of the screen. The harvesters targeted the Zarathi defense grid first. They hit exactly at the weak points our engineers identified 3 years ago. Shen's face darkened. The weak points we warned them about. The same weak points they refused to fix because it was too expensive. The communication console suddenly lit up. "Admiral, we have an incoming transmission from Earth Command, Priority 1. "Put it through," Shen ordered. President Jackson's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but determined. "Admiral, are you seeing what we're seeing?" she asked. "Yes, Madam President. The harvesters have returned. They're attacking Council worlds, starting with the Zarathi colonies." Jackson nodded. "We just received emergency transmissions from 5 different Council species, all asking for Earth's help." "Including the Zarathi?" Shen asked with a raised eyebrow. "Even them," Jackson confirmed. High Admiral Zirk sent the message himself, said they would consider compensation for past misunderstandings if we assist them. Shen couldn't help but laugh bitterly. How generous of them. "I've called an emergency Security Council meeting. Return to Earth immediately, Admiral. We need to decide our response." In the underground command center on Earth, the Security Council was divided. "Let them suffer the consequences," argued General Avery, pounding her fist on the table. The stern, gray-haired woman had opposed joining the Galactic Council from the beginning. "We warned them about their defense weaknesses. We told them about the ancient harvester records. They ignored us and insulted us." "Those are innocent lives," countered Ambassador Chen. "Billions of people who had no say in Council decisions." "Ambassador, Chen is right," Dr. Okafor added. "And the Proxima Plague is spreading faster now. 28 worlds reported outbreaks last week alone." President Jackson listened to everyone before speaking. "I understand both sides. The Council dismissed us for decades, but we didn't leave the Council to become monsters." Admiral Shen, who had just arrived from his ship, stood silently near the back of the room. Now he stepped forward. "Madam President, there's something else you should know," he said. "The harvester ships are moving in patterns. They're not just attacking randomly." He activated the holographic display in the center of the room, showing the position of harvester fleets. "They're systematically taking out the defensive capabilities and communication networks first," Shen explained. "Then they harvest resources, including population centers. It's almost like they know exactly where to strike." "How is that possible?" asked General Patel. "The harvesters were driven away centuries ago. How would they know the current defense layouts?" Dr. Okafor suddenly looked up from her data pad. "Unless they can sense the quantum security fields," she said slowly. "The same quantum security that Earth was maintaining for the Council." A heavy silence fell over the room. "You mean we were unknowingly protecting the galaxy from these things?" General Avery asked. "Not exactly," Dr. Okafor explained. "Our quantum protocols were designed for security and communication, but they may have had a side effect, masking certain energy signatures that the harvesters can track. And when we withdrew our systems," Chen began, "the galaxy became visible to them again," Dr. Okafor finished. President Jackson stood up. "How long until they reach Council Central?" At current speeds, 3 weeks, Admiral Shen replied. And Earth space? That depends on whether they continue their current pattern or change course, but potentially 2 months. At that moment, an aide rushed in. Madam President, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're sending a formal delegation to Earth. To negotiate our return? General Patel asked. The aide shook his head. No, sir. According to their message, they're coming to request our assistance. The message says, he paused, checking his tablet, that they recognize Earth's expertise in dealing with the ancient threat and are humbly requesting humanity's intervention. General Avery laughed without humor. Now they're humble. When will they arrive? President Jackson asked. That's the problem, Madam President, the aide replied. They sent this message before boarding their diplomatic vessel, but we just detected 3 Harvester motherships entering the Council homeworld system. The delegation may never make it off planet. On the Galactic Council homeworld of Harmonious Center, chaos reigned. The elegant towers of the capital city were now emergency shelters filled with frightened refugees from outer colonies. In the Grand Council chamber, representatives argued loudly as emergency alarms blared. The outer defense platforms have gone. Silent, announced a technician. Harvester ships are approaching the inner system. High Admiral Zerks stood at the center of the room, his golden scales now dull with stress. Where is our fleet? Why aren't they responding? The fleet is engaged, Admiral, replied a Zerathi officer. But the Harvesters targeted our command ships first. Somehow they knew exactly where to strike. The council leader moved to Zerks' side. The Earth delegation, have they departed? Yes, 10 high-ranking council members left on our fastest diplomatic vessel, Zerks confirmed. If the humans agree to help. If, interrupted Elder Mazik of the Voidwalkers, who sat quietly in his usual place. You still don't understand, do you? This was never about if humans would help, this was about why they needed to leave first. What are you talking about, Elder? The council leader demanded. Some lessons must be learned through experience, Mazik said cryptically. The humans understood something you did not. Soon you will understand too, if you survive. The chamber shook as distant explosions could be heard. The defense systems were falling. Harvester ships have entered the atmosphere, announced the technician, fear in his voice. The council leader looked out the grand windows at the beautiful city below. Dark shadows appeared in the sky as the massive harvester ships descended. The lesson was beginning. Back on Earth, President Jackson made her decision. Admiral Shen, prepare the fleet. Dr. Okafor, I need your quantum field technology ready for deployment. Ambassador Chen, draft a response to the council. What will you tell them? Chen asked. Jackson's eyes were determined. Tell them Earth is coming. But we're not coming back to the council. We're coming to save the galaxy our way. 9 months after Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, the situation had become desperate. The Harvesters had destroyed 37 Council worlds and damaged hundreds more. Billions of refugees were fleeing across the galaxy, many with nowhere to go. In Earth's orbital command station, President Jackson addressed the gathered military commanders. Today we launch Operation Sanctuary, she announced, standing tall despite the exhaustion evident on her face. This is not a military operation to defeat the Harvesters, not yet. This is a rescue mission. The large view screen behind her showed the deployment of Earth's fleet. Hundreds of ships, from massive carriers to small, fast vessels, were organized into groups. Admiral Shen will command the main fleet, Jackson continued. Our priority is evacuating civilians from the most vulnerable worlds, regardless of species. Admiral, Shen stepped forward. Each fleet group has been assigned a sector. Rescue ships will be escorted by battlecruisers for protection. We will not engage the Harvesters directly unless necessary to protect civilian transports. General Avery raised her hand. Where will we take the refugees? Earth and our colonies can't support billions of additional people. We've identified 17 uninhabited worlds within safe travel distance, President Jackson replied. They have breathable atmospheres and sustainable resources. Each world will receive refugees compatible with its environment. The Council won't like this, Ambassador Chen noted. Taking their citizens to worlds outside Council space. The Council barely exists anymore, Jackson said firmly. We're not asking permission. We're saving lives. 2 weeks later, Admiral Shen stood on the bridge of his flagship, the EDS Defender, as it orbited a Keldonite colony world called Blue Haven. The planet below was beautiful, oceans covering most of its surface with scattered islands of deep green forests. It was also directly in the path of an approaching harvester fleet. Evacuation status? Shen asked. 62% complete, Admiral, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. But we have a problem. The Keldonite Federation government is demanding we stop. What? Shen turned to face her. Why would they want us to stop evacuating their people? They're calling it cultural abduction, Rodriguez explained, reading from her screen. They say we're violating their sovereignty by taking their citizens to non-Keldonite worlds. Shen shook his head in disbelief. Do they understand that the harvesters will be here in less than 48 hours? The message says they're sending their own ships to reclaim their citizens from our transports. While their people die waiting? Unbelievable. Shen's voice was tight with anger. Continue the evacuation. If Keldonite military vessels interfere, warn them once. After that, disable their weapon systems if necessary. Yes, sir. Across the view screen, Shen could see the Earth rescue ships moving back and forth between the surface and the large transport vessels. Time was running out for this world. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, a different kind of battle was taking place. Dr. Amara Okafor worked tirelessly in her laboratory on the human colony of New Terra. Around her, a team of scientists from Earth and friendly alien species studied data from captured harvester technology. Look at this, Dr. Okafor said, pointing to a holographic display. The image showed complex patterns of energy moving through what appeared to be organic circuitry. The harvesters aren't just attacking, they're consuming specific quantum signatures. Dr. Patel leaned closer to the display. Like they're feeding on them? Exactly, Dr. Okafor confirmed. And those signatures match certain types of advanced technology, specifically, technology that generates quantum fields similar to what Earth was maintaining for the Council. A Voidwalker scientist named Tella, who had joined the research team, spoke up. This supports our ancient records. The harvesters were created to eliminate species that developed certain technologies without the proper safeguards. Wait, Dr. Patel said. Are you saying these things are some kind of galactic immune system designed to attack species that develop dangerous technology? In a way, yes, Tella replied. But there's more. Look at this pattern. The Voidwalker pointed to a different section of the display, showing energy readings from human brain scans. Next to harvester sensor patterns, Dr. Okafor's eyes widened as she understood. Human brains naturally generate quantum patterns that the harvesters can't detect properly. That's why our quantum security systems worked so well. They were based on patterns our brains naturally create. And when Earth withdrew those systems, Dr. Patel began. The galaxy became visible to the harvesters again, Dr. Okafor finished. But this gives us something to work with. If we can amplify the quantum signature that human brains generate, we could hide entire worlds from the harvesters, Tella concluded. Dr. Okafor immediately moved to the communication console. I need to speak with Admiral Shen immediately. We may have found a way to fight back. In deep space, far from any star system, Admiral Shen led a small team of specially selected officers on the most dangerous mission of his career. Their small, stealth ship approached a massive object floating in the darkness, a harvester neural node. The neural node was the center of the harvester fleet's coordination network. It looked like a twisted mass of metal and organic tissue, pulsing with strange energy. Nearly 5 kilometers across, it dwarfed the human vessel. Approaching optimal scanning range, reported the pilot. The stealth systems are holding. They haven't detected us. Good, Shen said quietly. Begin the deep scans. We need to confirm Dr. Okafor's theory. Special sensor equipment, designed based on Dr. Okafor's research, began collecting data from the harvester node. The seconds stretched into minutes as they floated dangerously close to the alien construct. "Sir," whispered the sensor officer, "we're detecting exactly what Dr. Okafor predicted. The node has a massive blind spot to the quantum frequencies, generated by human neural patterns." Shen allowed himself a small smile. "Download everything, then let's get out of here before—" Alarms suddenly blared through the ship. "Energy spike," called the pilot. "They've detected something." "Evasive maneuvers," Shen ordered calmly. "Begin jump countdown." The small ship spun away from the massive node as strange tentacle-like protrusions began to extend toward them. The pilot's hands flew over the controls, pushing the ship's engines to their limits. "Jump in 5, 4, 3, counted the navigation officer. A glowing tendril of energy from the node lashed out, grazing the ship's hull. Warnings flashed across control panels as systems overloaded. 2, 1, jump. The stars blurred as the ship launched into hyperspace, barely escaping the harvester's grasp. Inside, despite damage to several systems, the crew cheered. They had what they needed. Back on Earth, President Jackson addressed the planet's population through a global broadcast. "Citizens of Earth and all human colonies," she began, her voice strong and clear. "For months, we have watched as the harvester threat has grown. We have rescued millions from their path. But now we have found a way to fight back." Behind her stood Dr. Okafor and Admiral Shen, who had safely returned from his mission. "We didn't leave the Galactic Council to watch the galaxy burn," Jackson continued. "We left because they refused to see the coming storm. Now we must show them another way." She gestured to Dr. Okafor, who stepped forward. "Our scientists have discovered that human neural patterns create quantum signatures that the harvesters cannot detect," Jackson explained. "We are now mass-producing devices that mimic these patterns. With these devices, we can hide entire worlds from the harvesters' sensors." The broadcast showed footage of Earth's factories, where thousands of small devices were being assembled around the clock. "This will not be easy," Jackson warned. "We face an enemy unlike any we have encountered before, but humanity has always faced challenges with courage and innovation. Today, we don't fight just for ourselves. We fight for all life in the galaxy." As her words spread across Earth and beyond, something remarkable happened. For the first time, in months, people began to feel something that had been missing: hope. 1 year had passed since Earth's dramatic exit from the Galactic Council. The galaxy had changed dramatically in that time. Where once the Council ruled with its complex bureaucracy and strict regulations, now a new organization was forming. Not a council, but an alliance. Admiral James Shen stood in the newly constructed Alliance Command Center, built on an asteroid in neutral space. Around him, representatives from 27 different species worked together at various stations. Some were former council members. Others were independent worlds that had never joined the council. All had united against the harvester threat. "The quantum emitters have been successfully deployed in the Rigel sector," reported a blue-skinned, Keldonite officer, looking at Shen with newfound respect. 3 harvester ships passed through the system without detecting the inhabited planets. "Excellent," Shen replied. "Begin deployment in the Arcturus sector next. That's where our sensors detected new harvester activity." A tall Zerathi commander approached, his golden scales gleaming under the lights. Shen recognized him as Commander Tyrex, the son of High Admiral Xerx, who had died defending the Council homeworld. "Admiral Shen," Tyrex said with a formal bow, "my fleet is ready to escort the transport ships carrying the quantum emitters." "Thank you, Commander," Shen replied, returning the bow. "Your ships will also carry a supply of the anti-plague vaccines Dr. Okafor developed. There are reports of new outbreaks in the outer colonies. A year ago, such cooperation would have been unthinkable, the proud Zerathi and the arrogant humans working together, but necessity had created strange allies. On the main view screen, a map showed the current state of the galaxy. Red areas marked regions where the harvesters were active. Blue showed Alliance-protected zones where quantum emitters had been deployed. Yellow indicated disputed areas where fighting continued. "We're making progress," Shen observed, "but too slowly." A familiar voice came from behind him. "Progress is not always measured in territory, Admiral." Shen turned to see Elder Mazik of the Voidwalkers gliding silently toward him. The ancient alien had become a key figure in the alliance, though his species still maintained their traditional distance. "Elder Mazik," Shen greeted him. "I didn't know you were on the station." "I arrived an hour ago," Mazik replied. "There is something important we must discuss." In a private meeting room, Elder Mazik sat across from Shen, Ambassador Chen, and Dr. Okafor. "The time has come for the Voidwalkers to share certain truths," Mazik began. "Truths we have kept hidden for centuries." The humans exchanged surprised glances. The Voidwalkers were known for their secrecy, especially about their ability to perceive time differently than other species. "We foresaw this crisis," Mazik continued, his compound eyes reflecting the light strangely. "We saw it centuries ago, the rise of the Council, the eventual joining of humanity, and the necessary withdrawal that would trigger the return of the Harvesters." "Necessary?" Chen repeated, leaning forward. "You knew this would happen?" "We knew it needed to happen," Mazik clarified. "The Voidwalkers are bound by ancient codes. We cannot directly interfere with the natural flow of events, but we can observe, guide, suggest." "So Earth's exit from the Council wasn't the cause of this chaos," Dr. Okafor said slowly, understanding dawning on her face. "It was the catalyst needed for rebirth," Mazik finished. The Council had become stagnant, corrupt, species working together but never truly understanding each other, sharing technology without sharing wisdom. "And now?" Shen asked. "Now we have the opportunity to build something better," Mazik replied. "But first we must survive what comes next." 3 days later, Operation Quantum Shield was launched. Alliance ships deployed human-designed quantum emitters across strategic locations throughout the galaxy. The devices mimicked the natural quantum field generated by human brains, creating blind spots in the Harvester's perception. In her laboratory on New Terra, Dr. Okafor worked around the clock, studying the Harvester technology they had captured. With her was Tella, the Voidwalker scientist, and representatives from 12 other species, all contributing their unique knowledge. "I think I understand what they truly are now," Dr. Okafor announced, looking up from her microscope. The others gathered around her workstation. "The Harvesters aren't invaders," she explained. "They're automated defense systems left by an ancient civilization. They're programmed to eliminate any species that achieve certain technological thresholds without the corresponding ethical development." "How can machines judge ethics?" asked a Keldonite scientist. "They don't judge ethics directly," Tella explained. "They monitor quantum patterns, different types of social organizations, different approaches to technology, create different quantum signatures in a civilization's development." Dr. Okafor nodded. The Council's approach, sharing technology without cultural understanding, created a quantum signature that triggered the Harvesters. But humanity's development pattern was different, because Earth insisted on ethical frameworks alongside technological advancement, Ambassador Chen said, understanding. "Exactly," Dr. Okafor confirmed. Humanity's insistence on discussing the ethical implications of new technology, on finding consensus before deployment, created a different quantum pattern, one the Harvesters were programmed to ignore. "So the solution was there all along," Chen mused. "Not in better weapons or stronger shields, but in how we approach progress itself." At the edge of the galactic core, the final battle was about to begin. The combined Alliance fleet faced the largest gathering of Harvester ships ever detected. At the center of the Harvester formation floated their primary neural node, the central coordinator for all Harvester activities in the galaxy. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Shen addressed the fleet. "Today we fight not just for our own survival, but for the future of all species," he said, his voice transmitted to thousands of ships. "Our plan is simple but dangerous. The quantum disruptors will create a temporary blind spot in the Harvester's perception. That will allow our strike team to approach the neural node and deploy the reprogramming signal." The view screen showed ships from dozens of species, former enemies now fighting side by side. "The Harvesters outnumber us 5-1, Shen continued. But they have never faced a truly united galaxy before. They have never faced beings who understand their purpose and can show them a better way. The bridge crew cheered, along with crews throughout the fleet. They were vastly outnumbered, but something new gave them strength, unity of purpose. "Begin the attack," Shen ordered. The Alliance ships surged forward, quantum disruptors activating in a coordinated pattern. For a moment, the massive harvester ships seemed confused, their movements becoming erratic. "It's working," called Lieutenant Rodriguez from her station. "The disruptors are creating blind spots." The first wave of Alliance ships engaged the outer harvester vessels, drawing their attention while a small, fast strike team led by Commander Tyrex raced toward the neural node. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Admiral, 3 harvester capital ships are breaking through Sector 7, reported the tactical officer. "They're heading straight for us." Shen watched as the massive ships turned toward his flagship. "Hold position," he ordered calmly. "Continue firing. The strike team needs more time." The bridge rocked as the first blasts from the harvester ships hit their shields. Status displays flashed warnings as power levels dropped. "Shields at 60% and falling," reported an officer. "Divert all non-essential power to shields and weapons," Shen ordered. "We need to hold them off just a little longer." Another blast hit the ship, more powerful than the first. Panels exploded and crew members were thrown from their stations. "Shields at 30%. On the view screen, Shen could see Commander Tyrex's ships approaching the neural node. They were almost there. Just a few more minutes. A massive energy beam from the largest harvester ship struck the flagship directly. The ship shuddered violently. "Shields failing," shouted the tactical officer. As systems failed around him, Admiral Shen remained standing, eyes fixed on the view screen. Commander Tyrex's ship had reached the neural node. They were deploying the reprogramming signal. "Did they make it?" Shen asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. Lieutenant Rodriguez checked her failing console. "Signal deployed, sir. It's working. The harvesters are—" Her words were cut off as another blast hit the ship. But Shen had heard enough. He smiled. As the lights dimmed around him, across the battlefield, the harvester ships suddenly stopped firing. The massive neural node at the center of their formation pulsed with new patterns of energy. The Alliance had succeeded. The cost had been high. But the galaxy would survive. 18 months after Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, representatives from across the galaxy gathered in Earth's orbital diplomatic station. The massive structure floated peacefully above the blue planet, its curved windows offering spectacular views of Earth below. The grand meeting hall was filled with beings from over 300 species. Some were former council members, others had been independent worlds, and many represented planets that had been rescued during the Harvester crisis. All had come for a historic moment, the official founding of the Galactic Accord. Ambassador Elena Chen stood at the central podium, looking out at the diverse gathering. She had aged in the past year and a half, new lines on her face showing the stress she had endured. But her eyes were bright with hope as she addressed the assembly. "Welcome to Earth," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. "We gather today not as rulers and subjects, not as advanced and primitive, but as equals with a shared future among the stars." Chen gestured to the large holographic display behind her, showing the galaxy with areas marked in different colors. The territories that had joined the new accord. The old council sought uniformity, she continued. Their approach required all member worlds to follow the same development path, use the same technologies, and obey the same regulations regardless of cultural differences. We now know this approach not only stifled innovation, but actually triggered the ancient harvester defense systems. The representatives listened attentively. Many nodded in agreement, having seen the evidence for themselves. "The Galactic Accord is fundamentally different," Chen explained. "We do not seek uniformity. We seek harmony through diversity. Each species brings unique perspectives that strengthen us all. Different paths of development are not just tolerated, but celebrated." In the front row, Elder Mazik, of the Voidwalkers, watched with what appeared to be approval. Beside him sat President Jackson, who had traveled from Earth's surface for this historic occasion. "Today, we ratify the Accord Charter. Chen said, gesturing to the document displayed on smaller screens throughout the hall. Unlike the old council constitution with its thousands of regulations, the Accord Charter has just 27 core principles. These principles focus on mutual respect, information sharing, cultural exchange, and collaborative defense. Chen paused, allowing translation devices to catch up for those species who preferred their native languages. The first test of our new approach has already succeeded, she continued. The reprogramming of the harvester neural node has been completed. Those ancient machines, once our enemies, are now being reconfigured to serve as deep space monitoring stations, warning us of threats from beyond our galaxy. In a medical facility within the station, Admiral James Shen was finally awake after months of recovery. His body bore the scars of the final battle, an artificial arm replacing the one lost when his flagship was nearly destroyed, and burn marks. Across the left side of his face, Dr. Amara Okafor stood beside his bed, reviewing his medical scans. The new neural implants are integrating well, she told him. You should regain full mobility within a few weeks. Shen nodded, then looked out the window where he could see the gathered ships of the many species attending the Accord ceremony. How many ships did we lose? He asked quietly. 417, Dr. Okafor replied. But we saved thousands of worlds, Admiral. Billions of lives. Shen nodded again, accepting the harsh math of war. And the Zarathi commander? Tyrex? Dr. Okafor smiled. He survived. His ship was severely damaged after deploying the reprogramming signal, but a Keldonite rescue vessel pulled them out. He's actually going to be the Zarathi representative to the Accord Defense Council, which they want you to lead once you're recovered. Shen looked surprised. Me? After all the conflicts we've had with the Zarathi? Perhaps because of them, came a voice from the doorway. Commander Tyrex entered, his golden scales now bearing dark marks, scars from the same battle that had injured Shen. He walked with a slight limp but held himself proudly. Admiral Shen, Tyrex said with a formal bow. The Accord needs leaders who understand both diplomacy and warfare, who can see threats before they arrive, and who value all lives regardless of species. You have demonstrated these qualities. Shen looked at the Zarathi commander, once an enemy, now an ally, and slowly returned the bow. I'll consider it, he said, but only if you serve as my second in command. Tyrex's eyes widened in surprise. Then he smiled. It would be an honor. In a laboratory section of the station, Dr. Okafor led a tour for representatives of the scientific committee. Around them, scientists from dozens of species worked side by side, studying various pieces of technology. We've successfully reprogrammed several captured harvester units, Dr. Okafor explained, gesturing to what appeared to be a small harvester ship floating in a containment field. These ancient machines are actually highly adaptable when properly understood. They were never meant to be mindless destroyers. They were programmed to protect the galaxy from technological development without ethical safeguards. And now? Asked a Keldonite scientist. Now they recognize our Accord as meeting their original criteria, Dr. Okafor explained. They will serve as sentinels, watching for truly destructive technologies while allowing diverse approaches to development. In another part of the lab, Voidwalker scientists worked alongside humans and other species. For the first time in recorded history, the Voidwalkers were sharing limited aspects of their temporal technology. This temporal sensor array will give us early warning of approaching threats, explained Tella, the Voidwalker scientist who had become Dr. Okafor's friend. It can detect probability waves days before events occur, allowing us to prepare rather than simply react. As the formal ceremony concluded, President Jackson approached Elder Mazik in a quiet corner of the reception hall. You knew all along, didn't you? She asked. That Earth would need to leave the Council for this new order to emerge? Mazik's compound eyes studied her for a moment before he answered. We saw possibilities, not certainties. Many paths led to extinction. Some led to stagnation. Only a few led to renewal. And you couldn't just tell us Would you have believed us? Mazik asked. Would the Council have listened? Some lessons must be experienced to be truly learned. Jackson nodded slowly, understanding the wisdom in his words. What does your temporal sight show you now? What's coming next for us? Mazik made a sound that might have been a chuckle. For the first time in millennia, President Jackson, the future is wonderfully unclear. So many new possibilities have opened. Your species has changed the pattern. Before Jackson could ask more questions, Ambassador Chen joined them. The final vote is complete, Chen announced. The Accord Charter has been ratified unanimously. It's official. Jackson smiled. Then we have work to do. As the gathered representatives celebrated the birth of the Galactic Accord, ships from hundreds of worlds filled the space around Earth. Vessels that had once been enemies now floated peacefully side by side. On the observation deck, Ambassador Chen found a quiet moment alone, looking out at the stars. They seemed brighter somehow, as if the galaxy itself approved of this new beginning. Elder Mazik approached silently, standing beside her at the window. You humans, he said with what might be interpreted as affection, always taking the most difficult path to the right destination. Chen smiled. That's what makes us human. High above Earth, a new chapter in galactic history had begun. The chaos that followed Earth's exit from the Council had not been the end, but a necessary transition to something better. Through courage, compassion, and the uniquely human ability to find new solutions to old problems, the galaxy had not just survived, it had been transformed. The end.